Hi, everybody. This is Vinny, and welcome to Complain Time. This is a show we take a moment while the boss is out of the office to talk about things that really, just quite frankly, annoy us to death. Because you know what they say: when the cat's away, the mice will play. Or in this case, complain about stuff that just drives us all crazy. Now, before we go any further, I want to give you guys an opportunity to hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified so you never miss another episode of Complain Time, as well as other additional content. Now, today's topic that I want to get into, something that really gets on my nerves: boring meetings. No matter who you are or where you work, everyone has to go to a meeting at some point. Whether it's a store meeting, a department meeting, an office meeting, or a board meeting, we all got to go and pay attention to what's being said. And every now and then, you get a meeting that is entertaining and informative. But most of the time, the meetings are boring and unproductive. Especially when you have a boss or manager giving the meeting that is uninteresting or says the same crap every meeting, where every meeting is exactly alike, nothing changes, why am I here? Or it's a manager that nobody likes because they're a douchebag. So they drone on and 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 on, and the whole time this is happening, most people aren't even paying attention. They are playing phone games underneath their chair, trying to catch a Pokemon on the other side of the conference room. They're drawing random pictures on a piece of paper, or they're daydreaming about food because the meeting is cutting into their lunch hour. Which, by the way, if you're a boss, listen to this right now, or a manager, I'd like to give you one teensy teeny weeny but ever so significant little tiny detail. Have food or snacks at your meeting! A meeting without food and drink is not a meeting. It's a glorified email. Do not let your employees starve to death because you enjoy hearing the sound of your own voice. Now, boredom is the enemy of productive meetings, but it is also an epidemic. There are many reasons people get bored in meetings. One is that meetings are often simply way too long. Battle meeting fatigue by setting a strict agenda and sticking to it. Limit the amount of time everyone has for their presentation. Show somebody, hey, this person has 10 minutes, this person has 15, this person has 20, blah, blah, blah. Now, the best example of this that I can give you is myself as a stand-up comedian. Primarily when I perform in comedy clubs. And here's how the standard comedy club thing works. There are 3 comedians, usually every show. Every now and then there's a guest spot, but this is the standard. There's a host, a feature, and a headliner. The headliner is the guy that you're paying money to see. His name was on the ticket, all that. The feature act is the guy that's coming in to be the warm-up guy. Usually when the headliner is doing theaters and arenas, this is usually the guy that opens for him because that structure is much different. So they come in here and feature. And then you have a host. You have an MC. Their job is to not only warm up the crowd and entertain, but also make announcements for the club and get everybody's credits and introduce people properly. So the host does 10 minutes. That's the job. 10 minutes of stand-up. Once that 10 minutes is done, they're done performing. All they're doing after that is making announcements, introducing people, and getting the crowd excited. The feature act goes up, does 20 minutes. Now, it might be a little bit longer depending on the club, but the average is 20 minutes. Once that 20 minutes is done, they're done. The headliner comes on, does 40 minutes, sometimes an hour if they're on the late show. Usually if there's 2 shows, the first show, they stick to the 40 because they got to get 8 o'clock people out, bring the 10 o'clock people in, get them seated, everything else, and start the next show. So on the first show, the headliner kind of has to be very strict on their time. On the 10 o'clock show, they can just let it ride. So that's kind of how that goes. They kind of organize things that way to make sure that everything's done productively. They do it so that way the audience gets their laugh, gets to be entertained, but isn't sitting there forever going, Jesus, when's he going to wrap it up? They don't want to be in that scenario. So also what you want to do is you want to work frequent breaks into your schedule. Sometimes you're going to have a long meeting because you just simply have to. You don't have a choice. There's a lot of stuff you got to cover. It's very, very important to the company. I get that. I recommend working in breaks. Every so often, give people time to go to the bathroom. Give people time to get something to eat. Give people time to just talk and chat it up. Let their brains decompress from all the information you've been throwing at them. Because at some point, people are just going to be like, I can't follow, joke, nothing computes, bye. Now, there you go. What you also want to do is, Include a range of activities in the meeting, from team building exercises to speaker driven presentations, so that the feel of the meeting is constantly changing. Lastly, ensure everyone has a chance to be an active participant at different points in the meeting. Pick a person to do speeches, pick a person to do skits, pick a person to do all this other stuff. One thing I recommend against highly, I've seen a lot of people do these in meetings, don't give pop quizzes. Don't do that. Don't be one of those people that says, does anybody know what the 3 common core building blocks are of Johnson and Smith? No, they don't. I promise you they don't. Unless they're obsessed with the rules and read a manual every day, which also means they're boring and unlikable, because I can't imagine anybody doing that. They're not going to know that answer. And they don't care about that answer. You know why? Because they're doing their job. All they're focusing on when they come into work is, what is the task my boss needs me to do today? And I do those things, or we do those things. Nobody's reading a manual. No one's looking up the history. Nobody cares that the building was built in 1919 and the company was founded in 1972, or this guy was been a manager and then he retired in 99 and all that crap. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. If anything, it makes them hate you even more, because when they don't know the answer, they're going to think you did it on purpose to embarrass them. So, yeah, refrain from pop quizzes, stick to everything else. Now, passive listening can often lead to boredom. Why is boredom so common in meetings, and what can you do about it? So right now, I'm talking to the bosses again. I'm going to talk to you guys right now. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more of what you can do. One way to combat boredom is to host your meetings off-site in a conference center when possible. Every now and then, just kind of be like, hey, we're going to have a meeting, but we're going to do it over here. Have a meeting in a restaurant. Book a private room, a private area where y'all can sit and talk and eat and have your meetings. Also, find a conference room that's a lot nicer. Give a change of scenery, because the change of surroundings will help get your employees more engaged in the process, because they'll be like, hey, we're in a new place. This is interesting, but something special must be happening. I got to pay attention to this. Because if it's happening in the same spot all the time, people's going to think it's same old, same old. When you mix it up, that's the specialty. Now, according to a survey, more than 90% of people who took a Verizon poll admitted to daydreaming during meetings, and more than a third even dozed off. If either of those behaviors sound familiar to you, here are 3 tips to help you survive and thrive in boring office meetings. So now I'm shifting over to the people that have to sit in the meetings, the workers, like myself. We all got to sit through these meetings. Here's what you can do. Number 1, doodle productively. We've all witnessed a small masterpiece being doodled by someone on a conference call. And while that might be a shade more classy than writing your name over and over and over, both still come off as immature. However, you can use your doodles for good. Use your powers for good. With great power comes great responsibility. Express your Gen Y tendencies throughout the meeting by drawing creatively, but keep it small and on topic. For example, during the portion of the meeting about the upcoming expense report, doodle a spreadsheet with important names or symbols. Then, snap a photo and file for later. Discussing systems management, illustrate your own computer network, including key company figures. Bonus points for accurate and flattering caricatures. Number 2, refocus on the speaker. If you're staring at your notes while you listen to someone drone on and on and on and on and on, work hard to reorient your focus on the person speaking. Note their hair, which obviously sounds weird because clearly I don't have any, but you get my point. I'm trying to make a point here. Don't make any bald jokes in the comment section. Anyway, note their face, their clothes, and let yourself be distracted by the tiniest of details. Focus on where they come from, who they are. Remember that this is a real person. Whether or not what they're saying is interesting to you, chances are they've worked hard on this presentation or speech, or they believe strongly in what they are saying. At the very least, you'll be practicing several characteristics of charismatic people. And number 3, don't take notes. Take action notes. Finally, finish every meeting with a list of items for action. Too often, attendees end the meeting with a list of notes that look like this. Edward will update the roster this week. Mark and Edna are on leave Monday and Tuesday for a business meeting. What a snooze. See, this tone puts you in a position of a passive, disinterested reader. Hell, I almost fell asleep just doing that. And even though sometimes you might be disinterested, don't let your doodles come off that way. It's human nature to be more interested in yourself and your own plans. I know I'm guilty of this. So instead of boring notes about what other people are doing, give yourself a follow-up task like the following. Next Monday, email Edward to get the updated roster. Next Wednesday, email Mark and Edna to follow up about their business meeting. Not only will this give you a clear idea of what you need to do each day to follow up on the meeting, but you will also have a pre-invested time in your to-do list. Now, if you still find yourself too bored to pay attention, you could just be in the wrong industry. Chances are you really don't like what you're doing because your line of work is not as glamorous as you thought it would be. If that's not the case, though, evaluate your eating and sleeping schedule to make sure that your meeting naps aren't the result of poor health habits, because sometimes lack of sleep or eating a certain amount of food can make you sleepy. Most people, when they have their evening meal, they pass out, go to bed, so that can be an issue. So take all of that into account, because most times the meeting might not be boring. You just might be tired because you're working yourself to death and eating lots of fast food so you can refuel on the go. Lord knows I've been guilty of that. But when it's all said and done, there's a lot that can be done on both sides to get through a meeting. And obviously the purpose of these meetings is to get everyone on the same page. There is work to be done, and it's something that needs to be taken seriously. But that doesn't mean that the meeting can't be fun while at the same time be productive. One thing that bosses and managers need to remember is that your employees are not robots. They are not robots. They do not show up to work and just click on buttons and say, yes, sir, I will have those reports to you by the end of the day. I will put covers on the TPS reports. Nobody does that. They are human beings who need to be mentally stimulated. When people are bored, they don't pay attention. And in most cases, they're unable to pay attention no matter how hard they try. They might have ADD or something like that. They don't have the medication because no one wants to give the medication because they're like, you don't have ADD, you're just lazy. Trust me, people have said that before. And I know plenty of people, they were not lazy. They needed that medication. They didn't get that medication. But that's another complaint time for another day, so I'm not going to get into that. But anyway, by making the meetings fun, providing food and drinks, and most importantly, not being too over the top with the theatrics, you can conduct successful meetings. I'm going to say it one more time. Do not go crazy with the theatrics. I'll give you an example. I used to work for a company, and they would literally make us do a cheer at the end of every meeting. I hated it. I hated every second of it. Nobody liked it. And the worst part is, if you weren't enthusiastic, they would start all over again and force you to enjoy it. It was insane. I hated it. He's like, give me an A, give me a, give me a, no. Hated it. Hated it. Don't do stuff like that. Please don't do stuff like that. These are adults. Yes, you want to have fun, but they are not cheerleaders. Then again, I don't know, some of the women might have been cheerleaders when they were in high school. Maybe they'll enjoy it. But I guarantee you, none of the guys are enjoying it. None of them. Not one guy enjoys doing a, let's do a cheer. No. 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 Just no. It's wrong, it's weird, and no. Sorry, I had flashbacks there for a second. But anyway, you can conduct successful meetings, information will be well received, work will get done, and your employees will be excited about the meetings and work in general. Now, if you're a boss or manager, and you're watching this video right now, and you think this video is ridiculous, if you think this is a waste of time, if you feel like, oh, I just wasted damn near 15 minutes of my time watching this thing, and if you just think I'm some whiny millennial who can't handle the old school and that you don't need to do anything to make your meetings productive because it's work and work's not supposed to be fun, it's my way or the highway. If you have this mentality, do yourself and your employees a huge favor. Skip the meetings altogether and just send an email. Well, anyway, I can see my boss is making his way up the stairs, so that'll conclude complaint time for today. So before you guys go, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified so you never miss another episode of Complaint Time, as well as other additional content. Check back soon for a new episode. And until then, stay social.